preámbulo le presento aquí de Gotham, The Penguin, Robbie Lord Taylor. ¡Un aplauso!
Ahí, ya cayó.
Hola, Puerto Rico! How you doing, guys? Thank you for coming. This is amazing. I've been telling everybody in the line that up until this weekend, I had only been through the airport, and which is totally embarrassing because it's just blown my mind. You guys live in paradise. You're so lucky, and I can't wait to come back. So it's been incredible. I love you guys so much. You're also like the nicest people in the world. Like everyone has been so kind. It's just, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Is this your first time in Puerto Rico?
I mean, again, like when I was with my family growing up, we would go to the Caribbean a lot. And you know, when you're flying from the Midwest, you fly to San Juan and then you go off. And so again, like it was just. Excuse me. It was just the airport, but now, yeah, it's incredible. And again, like it's such a short weekend, really, and so like I'm gonna come back, bring friends, bring family.
Yeah. Awesome.
I've been telling everybody, I'm like, we're never going to Florida again. Like, we're going to Puerto Rico. This is where it's at.
Right. Awesome. So I want to ask you a little bit about your career. I was looking through it. You've been working at Law and Order so many times.
Yes.
I love Law and Order.
I know. I played 3 different characters over the years on the original Law and Order, and then 1 character on SVU. And you know they do the marathons.
Yeah.
You know, on the weekend or whatever. And I'll look on like Twitter or whatever, and I'll come up more than once in one day playing like different people, which is so funny.
Yeah, and also working with The Walking Dead.
Yes.
How was it working The Walking Dead?
Walking Dead was really, it was a life-changing experience. It was, you know, it was a very small role.
Yeah.
But you know, it was, you know, really my biggest television thing up until that point, especially, and then my first real experience with any sort of comic book property. You know, it was like my first time. You know, being exposed to fans like you guys, you know, and you know, before that, I mean, Law and Order has some pretty intense fans too. But you know, this was like the first time being in the comic book world, and then again, like, I really think it set the stage for Gotham for me because I did Walking Dead, and I didn't know about Gotham, and then I had the most amazing experience there. And then months later, I got my audition for Gotham, and then I really do feel like my experience with Walking Dead really just propelled me towards Gotham. And I have to say, like, I'm not lying at all. This is the complete, honest truth. The cast of The Walking Dead are some of the nicest people I've ever worked with or really met in the world. And I remember going there, and you know, when you're a guest star, and you're going on to a show like Walking Dead, and these people, and it was season 4, was my first episode. You know, they had been working together for 4 years. They all knew each other. It's very much like a family. You know, you're always a little nervous stepping in, like you know, it's like going to a new school, you know, like, for like a couple days, and it's like, oh, are they gonna like me? What's the vibe gonna be like? I mean, I got to work on my first day with Melissa McBride and Andrew Lincoln and my good friend Brina Paletia. And they could not have been kinder, and I knew from the second I showed up, Andrew and Melissa embraced us like we had been there since the beginning. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh, like if I ever get to be in a position like theirs where I'm a series regular on a show, I promise that I will treat every person who comes through that show with the same kindness that was shown to me on this show. Because it's like, when you do a show like Walking Dead or a show like Gotham, these are very intense, dramatic, violent, you know, it's very dark shows. The only way you can get through it as an actor is if there's love behind the scenes. And so, yeah, I carried that through to Gotham, and, you know, we made sure that everyone who came through Gotham was a member of the family as well. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Bueno, si quieren comenzar para la fila para hacer las preguntas, si desean comenzar, se pueden ya hacer la fila aquí en el medio, aquí con el hombre de la camisa roja.
Yeah.
So for questions. before that, where's hotter, Puerto Rico or Atlanta? Or humid?
Oh, what's more humid? Well, I haven't been here very long. Atlanta is pretty. I mean, that was really hot, and we shot in the summer. Like in Atlanta, it was pretty crazy. And then it's also like, when you're on a show, you want to, especially like Walking Dead, you want to look realistic, like you're really feeling it. But I was looking a little too realistic. I was like sweating, just all over the place.
Yeah, they make it look real sweat.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't need any help with that. Like I handled that on my own.
And about Gotham, I want to ask you, your character Penguin has been portrayed so many times over the 60s TV shows, and then with Danny DeVito, and then all of a sudden what kind of disappeared. And then you brought it up, you give it your own personality. How was constructing that character for the screen?
It was really, it was remarkably easy in a way, because when we were auditioning for the show, they didn't tell us what the show was. They didn't tell us what it was about. They didn't tell us what characters we were playing or we were auditioning for. And so they wrote fake scenes for us to do that the characters that we were doing in the audition scenes had the same personalities as the characters we would end up ultimately playing on the show. But we didn't know any of that. So we went in, I was given a scene and I was like, okay. I was like, this is how I'm gonna do it, and it was just a very those were my choices on how I was going to play that scene, and remarkably, it matched up perfectly with what the executive producers had in mind, and it was a really brilliant plan or idea of theirs to do it that way, because when you do something like this, Batman has to be reinterpreted for every new generation. It's been around for 80 years, and for it to keep going, it has to be changed. It has to live and develop and grow the way we are all growing in our lives. And so, by us going in with just our intuitive ideas on who these characters were, we weren't going in trying to recreate, not that I could, there's no way I could, even touch what Danny DeVito did. So I went in, doing my own thing, just not knowing that it was the right thing. So I don't know, I feel like I was blessed. It was a blessed moment.
All right, so let's go ahead and open the microphones.
All right, how are you? My name is Javier. I have a question regarding Gotham.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Awesome show. Had there been an additional season, what would have been your vision, or maybe as Penguin, as far as how that season would have gone? Maybe your first interaction with either Bruce Wayne or with Batman.
Yeah, I think I like what you said, because I think if we had more time, I would have liked to explore more of a connection between Bruce Wayne and Oswald, because again, as it comes down the line, as we all know, they're arch enemies. And so I think it would have been cool to really sort of explore, what could have happened in the past, and just to see if anything that Penguin, who he was or what he did, would have any sort of effect on who Bruce Wayne would grow up to be. I think that would have been really cool. And also, just to expound on that, I can't really say specifically what I would want to do if there were a sixth season, except just more opportunities to interact with the characters that I didn't get as much time with, just to really explore. There were so many people that, I worked with, but I didn't have a lot of scenes with. And, the cast of Gotham are some of the most incredible actors I've ever worked with in my life. And I was inspired by what they brought, and I just wish, with certain people like Lucius Fox, and played by the amazing Chris Chalk, just more kind of that interaction, I think would have been cool. But c'est la vie.
All right, awesome, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I got a question regarding John Wick 3. How long it took to put all those tattoos and piercings on you? Congrats, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have the tiniest role in John Wick 3, but again, if they had me just in the background, I would have gone in and just moved the lights around. I don't care. Just to work with those people, and especially on that story. I was a fan of that movie when it came out, and of course of the sequel, and then it's just incredible. But yeah, and I play this guy who has a lot of piercings, a lot of tattoos, which is really neat because I don't have any. And so like, you know, it took about, I would say like an hour and a half to get them all on. And then once they were all on, I was kind of like, I kind of like this. And I was like, but maybe not the best idea for the rest of my life, but I was really kind of getting into it. But yeah.
You stole the show.
What's that?
You stole the show.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it was a really amazing experience.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's up, friend?
Hello, my name is Winston, and I just wanted to know, it's a question about Gotham.
Okay, cool.
What was your favorite episode to act in?
My favorite episode of Gotham. Oh, that's a tough one. Oh man. There's a lot of my favorite episodes. I mean, I think, I'll just list a couple that come to mind. Obviously, the first episode, like that, you know, just really, I think was just such an incredible pilot episode. It was an incredible way to start our series, and it was also, you know, you're a little bit younger than I am, but as you'll see when you grow up, you know, you'll see that we will have, like, we all have moments in our lives where you can feel that your life just changed, where you just sort of feel that something fundamental just sort of shifted, whether it's meeting someone who ends up being a great love or a great friend, or, you know, I'm sure all of you can think of a moment where, you know, where something happened that your life changed. When I was on the pier with Jim Gordon in that first episode, you know, it was snowing, it was like, you know, as cold as you can imagine, but it's almost like I was outside of myself looking down and being like, this is what you were always destined to do, you know. And I was like, and also, your life will never be the same after this. And it was a really big, scary, but amazing moment. So yes, the first episode, but then I'll have to say, you know, and then the last episode, you know, like that was when we could jump. I won't spoil too much because I know there are some people who probably haven't seen it, but I'm sure you all know that we jumped 10 years into the future. And so I was able to, you know, Penguin gained a little bit of weight in that episode, and I was able to, like, and I had the monocle and the top hat and all of the costume pieces that we all associate with the Penguin. I got to have them all finally at the end, and it just felt, it just was amazing, because it felt like we were finally given the legitimacy that we earned, you know, and yeah, so the first and the last are my favorites. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, little man.
Hi there, Josue.
Hey man, good to see you again.
Good to see you again. I just want to have a question and a small request. My question is, after John Wick 3, do you know what's your next step or what's going to be your next role? And I wanted to know, my small request, if you can do like a small reenactment of the Penguin.
Of the Penguin walk, or
like a line or something that can say,
I'm the king of Gotham! That's all I'll do, yeah. But yeah, and then my next thing, I have a supporting role on the second season of a series called You, Y-O-U, as in You. Yeah. And it's on Netflix now, and yeah, it's awesome. I have a lot of scenes with Penn Badgley, who's just an amazing guy and just an amazing scene partner. And also, the greatest thing about it is that I'm playing someone who is blonde, which is, I don't have to dye my hair anymore, which is great. And then, but also this character, he's a kind, gentle person, which, as we all know, is light years different from Oswald. But, you know, that's part of the thing that we as actors, we want to do. I want to play everyone I want to change for you. I want to like step into someone else's skin. I don't want to just be known as the guy who played the Penguin once. You know, it's all about like changing it up and subverting people's expectations, you know, or how they think that you should be, you know. And so yeah, it's really cool. I think it comes out in the fall, so yeah, check it out.
all right, thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hi again, Robin. My name is Reed from Cultura Secuencial. Just one question. How you define the arc that Oswald went through, going from Oswald, from the umbrella guy to being the king of Gotham, Penguin. For you as an actor, how was that like?
It was like, it really felt like I experienced someone else's life in a weird way, because, we shot 9 months for 5 years, and that's a lot of time spending with this character, and as obviously, like, I had never played a character for that long, so, like, weirdly, like, there were times where, like, his experiences really kind of mirrored what I was going through, like, for example, like, I think about, where Oswald starts, like, he has no status, everyone's completely, like, no one expects anything from him. They don't think of him at all, and but he has one thing that no one else had, and that was the strongest ambition a human being could possibly have, and I identify with that. Like, that's one of the few things that I identify with Oswald. Don't worry, but really, like, his ambition and his refusal to believe the people who were telling him that he was nothing. Just the fact that he could dream as big as he could dream. It was just like, I really, it felt like he and I were on the same path in that way. And at the end of season 1, where I'm yelling, "I'm the king of Gotham," I was on the roof of a building in Brooklyn, and I was looking at the Empire State Building. And at that point, I had lived in New York for 15 years, trying to make it as an actor. And, I could get emotional talking about it, but, like, when I'm up there and I'm, like, looking at the Empire State Building and I'm yelling, "I'm the king of Gotham," I was the king of New York City in that moment. No one could tell me any different. Like, that was exactly what I was feeling. And yeah, it just, so, in weird ways, it's like our lives would parallel, and, and a weird thing happens too, because, the writers create the character. They're the ones who decide, what the vision is and what the words are going to be. But then as the actors spend a lot of time with the character, the writers start to write for me. Like, they start to write in my voice. So it was like, in a weird way, it was the most difficult job, but at the same time, the easiest job, because I could just, like, turn it on like that. I knew exactly how I was going to say every line. I knew exactly where he was coming from. And yeah, it just felt like a very organic, like, I just felt very, like, connected to this character in a way I've never felt before on any other job I've ever had. So yeah, it was really, really profound.
Awesome, thanks again.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey man, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, man.
Thank you for showing us an awesome Penguin, totally different, and I really enjoyed the show, really. And
Thank
the
you,
last
thanks for
season was
watching.
awesome for me. By the way, I have a question about your relationship with the Riddler, okay?
With what?
With the Riddler.
Oh, yeah.
Edward Nigma. So we know that you kind of fell in love with the Riddler. I would like to know if after the 10 years jump, how is the relationship? The Penguin is still in love with Edward Nigma, or is more like a friendship?
I think well, first of all, I have to say that, it's hard to say that he fell in love, because Oswald is an emotionally damaged person who doesn't understand boundaries, and also really, having never really had a true friend or any sort of someone, or really anyone who really, like, connected with him. His idea of love is very different, I think, from what, you and I and the rest of us here would think. Like, he just, he doesn't, I don't think he truly, like, it's not like love in the truest sense. It's more just sort of like, I don't want to put a word on it, but, it's a complicated kind of thing. And so after they, that happened, and then they both have a complete falling out, I think I don't think Oswald had a realization. He learned that what he was feeling wasn't necessarily love. It was more about possession, more about, security. It wasn't a true love connection in that you're allowing another person to have their wants and their desires and their feelings. It's more like, it's like he wanted to possess Ed Nigma in that way. And so, when they fell out, I think Oswald learned that lesson. Like when they came around and they reconnected, and he realized that, like, yes, like, I always say, it's like my enemy is my best friend. Like, there's a connection there, and there's this beautiful dance that Oswald and Ed are doing throughout the rest of the season, all the way up until the very last episode, where it's like you can't totally tell, like they're both opportunists and they're both gonna, they both want to be the king, and so there's always going to be tension there, but they also both realize that together they are absolutely unstoppable. And so there's a reason that there is a friendship there. And so, yeah, I'll also say, for those who've seen it, others have not, the second to the last episode 11 of season 5, there's one of my favorite scenes ever between Ed and Oswald, and I think it's like the most beautiful encapsulation of what their relationship is. And so yeah, I encourage everybody to watch that scene, and that's the resolution between the two of them. That's what the real truth of their relationship, I think, is in that scene. So yeah, I can't wait for those who haven't seen it. I can't wait for you to check it out.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, buddy. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So my question is Gotham related.
Great.
If you could play another character besides Cobblepot, who would it be and why?
Oh man, okay. Thank you for asking that question. We've gotten this question a lot through the years, and I have the most disappointing answer for you. Is that, again, with what I was saying about how the audition process went on the show, the fact that we didn't know what we were doing, we were just going in intuitively, approaching these characters, just from our own experiences and bringing those experiences to these characters. It would be impossible for me to imagine anyone else playing these characters, including myself. Like, it just was so perfectly cast. And people also ask, like, going forward, would we ever do a spin-off or this or that? And I'll say, like, anything's possible, but it would have to be the same group of people, because I couldn't imagine like having to share a scene with another Barbara or another Jim or another Enigma. It just worked out perfectly. So yeah, unfortunately, there's no one else I would rather play. I'm the king of Gotham, man. I mean, like, what? I'm not gonna play anybody else.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, love. Hi, you look amazing.
Thank you.
No problem.
My question is, what is your favorite movie of all times and why?
What's my favorite way?
Movie of all times and why?
Right. See, this is a good note for everybody. So, we all get, I'm sure, like, you'll be talking to someone who'll be like, what TV shows do you like? And, in the moment, it's almost impossible to think of, like, it's always like, have I ever seen a movie before? I can't think of a single movie. So you get your notes app on your phone, and you start your list right now. Like, start thinking of your favorite movies, and I promise you, it will save you a lot of time, but as long as you can find the right one. Okay, favorite movies, give me 1 minute. Okay, oh man, okay, it's probably not gonna be in, I'm not gonna find it. Okay, that was the worst advice I could have ever given. It's totally turning around and biting me in the butt. Let's see. Alright, so, my favorite movie of all time, oh man, I would have to say, I love Stanley Kubrick. I think The Shining is one of those movies where every time it's on television, I can't tear myself, I've seen the movie at least 20 times. I can't tear myself away from it. It's like, it's like looking at, it's like looking at the most intricate picture, and you see what it is, but the longer you stare at it, you start seeing new things. It's like the most amazing experience, and it's really hard for me to think about any sort of experience that I've had. I've never really had that experience with any other movie, in the sense that I feel like every time I watch it, I find something new, or I think about something differently, or like the ending, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen The Shining, get a life. But like at the end, the end is so ambiguous and really beautifully poetic in a way. And I think like, the older you get, you watch it and you look at it differently, and it's almost like it means something different, as you go through your life. So yeah, I'm gonna say The Shining.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, love.
Hi, my name is Sari, and I'm so excited that you're actually here because Oslo Cobblepot is my favorite character from the Gotham series.
Thank you for watching.
Well, my question was, how did you prepare yourself before filming your character? Because I remember watching it, and Oswald is just this outrageous person. So I just wanted to ask you, how do you prepare it?
Yeah, it's, well, there's the standard, like, we every time we would start an episode, we would have, we call it a table read, and it's literally everyone sits around a table and reads the script together. And so that's the first time you sort of see what we're going to be doing in that episode and what will be required of us emotionally and physically and all of that. And so, that, gets me in the mindset of where we're going to go, with that particular episode. So that helps. And so, yeah, and then the night before, I, force my husband to, like, run lines with me, and, like, he's an actor, so it actually works out pretty good. But, yeah, so we, like, I work on the lines and, like, really try and get them memorized so that I don't have to, like, think about it or like, I don't have to have that stress. And then on top of that, it's also, like, I would go into work and I would have an hour and a half to 2 hours of hair and makeup. And, I had the fake nose and the crazy disco vampire hair, as Barbara so eloquently put it. It's like using that time when the nose goes on and the makeup goes on and then the hair is done, and then I step into these suits, these gorgeous suits that I would never personally wear in my life, but but that Oswald would. And it's like that informs who the character is. And also, like, if you wear a three-piece suit that's tailored to your body, your posture changes, your whole attitude changes. It's like, that's how you're presenting yourself. So it's like, yeah, so then putting on the costume, and then on top of that, walking onto whatever set we would be shooting on. We had the most amazing production team in Hollywood. The fact that they built these incredible sets that look like you were stepping into the comic book. Like, it just really transforms, like, your sense of where you are in the world. It's really remarkable. So, like, all of those things, especially those physical things coming together, it just sort of, like, got me right into the character as well. And then again, because so much of this character is, like, intuitively, like what I brought to it, because again, about the auditions and all of that, it just was so seamless. Like, I could just, like, access it so hard, and I never felt like I was, like, trying or, like, scrambling or, like, pushing. It just felt really natural. So yeah. And then the last thing are my incredible co-stars, the people that I got to share time with, that I got to share these amazing scenes with. I'm inspired by Corey Michael Smith. I'm inspired by Ben McKenzie, by Aaron Richards, by everybody on the show. They make me want to be a better actor. They make me want to come with my A game, and because I'm only trying to meet them on their level. So again, all of those things coming together. That's how we got the Penguin on Gotham. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? I'm glad. Thanks for coming back. Yeah.
I just have a different question now.
Good.
If you could play any role on the comic book world, which role would you choose if you had the opportunity to choose any?
Oh man, who would I choose? I mean, yeah, I go right to Nightcrawler from X-Men. Like, that's sort of like, there's just something about that character that it's just amazing, and like the physicality of that character, and also just the story of X-Men really speaks to me. Like, it's similar to the way, the story of the Penguin spoke to me. It's that feeling of being different, of being other, and being told that you are not equal to someone else, and then taking that and embracing it and using it to fuel your fire and what you want to do with your life. Like, I feel like that is so important to the story of the X-Men. So that's why that story really speaks to me. And yeah, Nightcrawler's badass. So.
I can see you acting as Nightcrawler.
Nice, man. Put it out there. Let's do it. Thank you, sir.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm amazing.
That's good. First of all, thank you so much for coming to Puerto Rico.
Thank you so
really
much for having me. And again, thank you to the people of Puerto Rico for being so beautiful and loving and kind. Like, it really makes a difference when we do these things, because again, like, I'm just here to, like, I connect with people, and I want to talk to people, and I want to have like an emotional connection with people, and to have people just be so open-hearted, it makes a world of difference. So thank you all so much for that. It's just amazing.
Okay, first of all, I just want to say also thank you for the Penguin. You, honestly, like for real, you're one of the best fictional character interpretations I've seen.
Thank you so much.
Really, that first scene with the Penguin, it's amazing. And second of all, I just want to ask you, I know maybe you've been asked this a lot, but a lot of actors have their interpretation, but yours, having so many years in the acting industry, what would be your first advice for new actors trying to start or trying to get to the industry?
Man, there's a lot. There's a lot of advice one could give. First of all, it's the biggest advice I can give anyone trying to be an actor, and it may sound a little counterintuitive, but because as the actors, like I said before, like I want to change. I want to I want to change in front of you. I want to play different people. I don't want to be myself when I'm acting. However, if you're going to do that and you're going to do it well, you have no choice but to know yourself as well as you possibly can. Find out, like really do the work to find out what makes you who you are, and what inspires you, and what drives you, and because unless you know yourself, you can't do justice to any character that you're ever going to play. Like, you have to really know who you are. And then on top of that, there's another piece of advice for people starting out now, especially younger people. Get off your phone. Get off your phone. As an actor, you take your inspiration from the real world, from real human connection and real human interaction. As real as social media might seem, it's not real. It's as fake as the nose on Penguin's face. It's not real life. And so, like, I really implore people to take time away from social media. Like, connect to the people, to your surroundings. Look up. Don't look down. Look up. That's where the real stuff is. That's the stuff that makes you who you are, and also will make you a better actor. So that's my other piece of advice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alberto.
Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so I have two comments and just one question.
Great.
First comment, The Shining is one of the greatest movies ever made. Now, the second thing it is that I do hope that they give you another space in John Wick, because even though it was small, it was a great scene.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Now, the actual question is from Michelle, but she's too shy to actually ask it.
Oh, Michelle. Whatever.
She is a huge fan from Gotham. She wanted to know what is the hardest scene or episode that you ever, the hardest scene or more challenging scene or episode that you had to
What was the favorite or the hardest?
The hardest.
The hardest. Okay, this is going to get a little serious. Now I can't remember the seasons. It's been a minute. In season 2, we meet Penguin's father, and played by the incredible Paul Rubens, aka who's also known as playing Pee Wee Herman. And I was a fan of Pee Wee Herman when I was a kid, and when I was a kid, and I'm sure we're probably close to age in the sense that when we were kids, it was like the Pope, Michael Jackson, Pee Wee Herman. It's like those are the most famous people. Like Madonna's in there somewhere. But those are the most famous people we could imagine. And so then the fact that he's playing my dad was just absolutely incredible. And then also that he played Penguin's father in Batman Returns too, which is a really fun crossover that we got to have. Anyway, as we know, as I hope you know, I hope you've seen season 2, so this is a spoiler if you haven't seen it. But unfortunately, Penguin's father dies. And this is another weird place where Oswald and my life totally coincided, because while we were shooting, the day that we were shooting the scenes where my TV father is dying, my father died. And I was on set when that was happening. And it was another sort of out-of-body experience. And it was also so anyway, we were shooting the show, and I got the news, and so we took a break, and they asked what I wanted to do, and they left it up to me, like if I wanted to leave, if I wanted to stay. They were like, what do you want to do? And so it was Paul's last day of the entire series, and I was thinking about it, and I wasn't going to be able to get home until the next day anyway. And as an actor, when do you ever get that moment to where what you're going through personally is what your character is going through? It was this profound experience that I couldn't say no to. Like I had to know what that felt like. And so we finished the day. I finished those scenes, and there are a couple scenes, if you go back and watch, I forget what episode it was, but if you go back and watch season 2, there are a couple scenes where, my dad had just died, and my father is dying in front of me. And in a weird way, like, I think of it as like a tribute to my dad, in that, like, I sort of feel like, of course he's my dad, he'll always be with me, but like, now he weirdly lives on forever and ever, like now, like, tangentially, like, he's part of that world too, and I can't think of anything more beautiful, and also, like, the reason I'm an actor is because I had the support of my mother and father, and so everything I do is because of him. The fact that I'm sitting in front of you is, well, obviously because of him, but is really because of his support and his love and his insistence that I don't settle, that I follow my heart and I do what I want, and I do what I want with my life. He was very much, he was a man of a certain generation, and he had to make sacrifices, and he had to do things for his family that weren't necessarily what he wanted to do with his life, but he did them because he had to. He made it so that I would never have to do that. And so again, I just think that, the fact that there was this weird moment where, like, what was happening to me was happening to Oswald, and my dad is part of this world too. I just think it's like, it's an amazing tribute to him. And again, it's like this connection that I have to the show, it's so much more than a job for me. It was part of my life and part of my soul and part of my family. It goes so much deeper than people think. And so that was the hardest episode, but also the episode I'm most proud of, and also the episode that I will never watch. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hi.
We got some Selena cosplay, I see. Yeah!
Okay, hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm so nervous.
It's okay, just breathe. We're all friends.
I just wanted to know, like, what happened to Fish Mooney?
What happened to Fish Mooney? And that's the thing about Gotham, is like, people die, but no one ever really dies in Gotham, And like, that was amazing too, because we didn't really know at the end of season 1 if she would come back, and I have to say, I have to give a huge shout out to Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah.
Like, she is the consummate professional. Yes, please clap for her. She helped to launch our show, and she showed up with no attitude, no ego. She was in it with the rest of us. It just, and she and I had so many intimate moments in the show, like just between the two of us. And so, like, when I was starting on Gotham, we had to do interviews like this, and like, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and like, and they would put me with her because she's done a billion of them, and she just like took me under her wing, showed me how this whole world goes, how to be a real person, but yet still like have a coherent thought and like get a soundbite out there. So anyway, she's so amazing. The fact that we got to bring her back was amazing, and yeah, I guess she technically died in my arms, but in my head, Hugo Strange got he got his fingers around on that, and he fixed it, I think, for sure. Like, I think in my mind, I think she's still living somewhere with that crazy eye, just waiting for her moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you
I love
so much. Oh, I love you. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi again.
Hi again. I'm Anna. I'm Alexandra's mother. And the first time I know everything, nothing about Gotham. but my son is now in heaven. He passed. And I learned how to love you through them, through my son and through my daughter. And it's more significant to me, but it's a different love. You are a new son to me, and I am now your truth. I'm your mother, your Puerto Rican mother. Love you.
Oh, I love you too.
No.
41 years old. Thank you so much. I'm gonna feel that tomorrow. 8 bruises. I'm gonna have to stretch. Yeah.
Well, thanks for everything.
Thank you, man.
It was an amazing experience. I hope everybody learned something.
So
That
tired.
to achieve your dreams, you have to work for them. And you're a living proof that if you work at it, have a good sense of it, everything is possible.
That's right.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And thank you guys so much.
Puerto Rico que me escuchen y están de acuerdo y contentos. Gracias a ustedes por esta experiencia única. Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bless you guys. I love you, Puerto Rico.